Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, continuing to take a look at the next week's slate, heading down to the ACC as the Miami Hurricanes head on the road to play Florida State. And this is a game when I was getting my notes ready and thinking about this matchup. These two teams kind of in different spots in terms of their developmental cycles under their coaches. And I think Florida State fans would probably agree a couple of years ago the Florida State Seminoles were kind of in a similar spot Miami is right now in terms of a talented football team that hasn't necessarily established that winning culture and that consistency week in, week out, taking care of business. I think a lot of Florida State fans who keep up with the Miami Hurricanes in the ACC know this is a very talented Miami team. And from an outside perspective, it's going to be a blowout. Florida State undefeated versus a Hurricanes team that just only scored 6 points against NC State. This game could be a very good game if the Miami Hurricanes, who certainly have the talent to make it a good game, play up to that level. Really excited to get into this one. Before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys. The support you all have shown for all of these game breakdowns, it truly does mean a lot. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And more importantly, would love to hear from you guys. Picks, predictions, keys to the game. And without further ado, let's get into this one. And I want to start with Florida State and just how complete of a team this is. Like you look at, an ACC championship caliber team, a national championship caliber team, they kind of check all those boxes. Veteran leadership, really good culture, Heisman caliber quarterback, weapons on the outside. I think a really good defense. This is a very complete Florida State team that runs the ball, top 20 team in the country, through the air is a top 20 team in the country. Really hard to stop this Florida State team on offense. And you look at the Hurricanes on the defensive side of the ball. This is a really talented group and quite frankly, a really good group. And again, if you don't watch Hurricane games, you might say, this defense is solid, but not great. This is a Miami Hurricanes defense that is really, really good. And I think it's going to give Florida State a really good test, specifically on the lines of scrimmage. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. We kind of talked about this with the Florida State team in general. It checks a lot of boxes. If there's one part of this Florida State team that is not elite, it's probably that offensive line. And they're going up against the Miami Hurricanes defensive line that is extremely disruptive, right? True freshman Ruben Bain, Leonard Taylor, Jafari Harvey, whoever it is, they have a laundry list of guys who are NFL caliber dudes. And can they get after and be disruptive against the Florida State offensive line that allowed 11 negative plays against Pitt last week? That's probably the biggest question that you have. Now, you look at this Florida State team on offense, why I think it is a top 10 scoring offense, right? 39.6 points per game. It has so many different ways it can beat you. And you might look at that box score against Pitt and say, Florida State's offense didn't play that great. Jordan Travis threw for 360 yards. And this without Keon Coleman or Johnny Wilson. And I think Mike Norvell sat those guys out against Pitt because he wanted them fully healthy for this game because he knows how dangerous this Miami Hurricanes team can be, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Now, why Miami, I think, is having so much success on offense is there's not really many ways that you can stop them because they have playmakers all over the field. If you want to respect Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson and play your safeties back and kind of try to stop Florida State pushing the ball down the field, Trey Benson's a guy that in a light box can kind of just take over a game. And if you want to dedicate people to try to stop Trey Benson, who I think is one of the best running backs in the whole entire country, a guy like Keon Coleman, a guy like Johnny Wilson will get behind a defense and hit those explosive plays. It's a very complete offense. They're averaging 5 yards per carry on offense. That's 19th in the country. 8.9 yards per pass. That's 18th in the country. Very complete. It's a hard offense to stop. That's going to be the most intriguing battle because I think this Miami Hurricanes defense is legit. I think this Florida State offense is legit. Who wins that battle is going to be a very interesting matchup to monitor. Now, on the flip side, I think this is where there's a mismatch here. I think this Florida State defense is playing some of its best football that you've seen play all year, specifically in the back end. And you look at this secondary, the numbers on the year, and outside of one pass against Pitt last night, this was a Florida State defense that wasn't allowing much through the year. A 48% completion percentage given up to opposing quarterbacks. That's number 2 in the country. Whether it's Fentrell Cypress, Renardo Green, Shaheem Brown, these cornerbacks and these guys in the back end are extremely sticky and just don't really give up much. And then you supplement that with the pass rush that I think is a top 15 group in the country. Jared Verse, first round NFL draft pick. Fabian Lovett, Braden Fisk on the inside, playing like NFL caliber guys. Patrick Payton on the other end. I think they do a really good job with their blitz packages, sending linebackers. When you have such a good secondary and you have a pass rush that can get after it like Florida State can, and that's why you're looking at a defense that is so good. And you look at this Florida State team, it's just checking boxes. It is a very, very complete team, and they're going up against the Miami offense that has flashed some really good stuff. Tyler Van Dyke has played at a very high level in portions of this season, but lately, and Miami fans know it's been really ugly. When Tyler Van Dyke, the last 2 games, 0 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. That is a bad recipe to go on the road and beat a Florida State team that is one of the best groups in the country. And to get into what I saw, I watched the film back of the Miami offense this morning. The coaching staff, I think, evidently doesn't have much confidence in Tyler Van Dyke. And the most worrying part, Tyler Van Dyke seems to not have much confidence in himself. You look at the numbers, Tyler Van Dyke was kept clean the whole game. He was sacked 0 times. He was only hit once. He was hurried 4 times. That offensive line did a phenomenal job. They were rushing 3, dropping 8. Tyler Van Dyke had some time in the pocket. He just looks gun shy. And even some plays where he has guys open, he's missing them with his accuracy. He's making bad decisions. I don't know if you go away from Tyler Van Dyke and start a true freshman Emory Williams or a sophomore Ja'Cory Brown, who, and again, if you want to go to the younger quarterbacks, this is a tough spot to put him in. On the road, rivalry game against one of the better defenses that you'll see all year. That is a tough environment to put a young quarterback in. But how much longer can you give Tyler Van Dyke when he doesn't have any confidence and the coaching staff doesn't have any more confidence either? And I think the only way Miami really moves the ball against Florida State is running the football. And they do have a very good offensive line that can lean on people. Mark Fletcher, the true freshman running back, is running the rock extremely hard. But when you're that one-dimensional and teams kind of know you're running between the tackles, it gets kind of easy to stop. Even if you do have a good run game, you're seeing loaded boxes. Teams aren't afraid of you pushing the ball down the field because Tyler Van Dyke hasn't done it the last 2 games. That's the biggest mismatch that I see in this game. For me, it's hard to see this Miami Hurricanes offense that you've seen the last 2 weeks. It's hard to have a lot of confidence in them pushing the ball and kind of moving the ball against a Florida State team that is as good as they are, especially in the back end. Getting to the pick, Florida State 14-point favorites at home. And this pick gets into kind of a vibes check. Like, what Miami Hurricanes team are you going to see on Saturday at Godot Campbell Stadium? If it's the Miami team that you saw the last 2 weeks, Florida State's going to cover these points and probably win by a couple scores. If the Miami team that beat Texas A&M at home, the Miami team that you've seen play really good football at times, I think Miami can make this a game. But right now, I think you're going to get Florida State's best shot. I think Keon Coleman's going to be back. I think Johnny Wilson's going to be back. I think you're going to get the best Florida State team you've seen from a health standpoint. I think they held some guys out to be healthy for this game. And you look at this Miami team, it's hard to see them just flip the switch on the road against Florida State and play their best football when they haven't played anything close to their best football in a couple weeks. So for that reason, I'm going Florida State to cover the 14 points again. I love this Florida State team. I think it checks all the boxes that you want to be a special team in 2023. Really excited for this one. I think this game can be certainly a game if the Miami team shows up that can play some good ball. But if you get the Miami team that you just saw against NC State, especially on offense, it's hard to see this one being close because, yes, Miami Hurricanes, this defense is really good. It's going up against the best offense that they've seen all year. So, again, Florida State, I'll take the 14 points. It's going to be a good one, I think. Like, this is going to be on the main screen. I'm really excited for it. It's just, if you ask me what quarterback and what team and what program I got more confidence in heading into this one, it's got to be the Noles. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. Again, if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.